What is up, everybody? It's LG Doucette here, and I actually don't usually record this part on video, but this week I am, because this week I'm all alone. Phil D is not feeling well after his trip down to Florida, which you heard all about on last week's show. So I'm throwing it back old school like we used to do. I'm actually doing a solo pod this week. Not going to go into anything too much in depth. Mainly just going to talk about the news that I feel like talking about. Maybe a couple little personal nuggets too of like things going on with First Mint. But it's just me this week, folks. We are going to chat NFL all-day game plan, which came out in the last couple of days. I got to talk about how NFT Sports are kind of in a good place right now. Things are feeling good. Then we're going to talk about some partnership news, not for First Mint. We don't have any partnerships, but for Cryptoys, which has announced that they're partnered with Disney yet again with some Mickey Mouse stuff. Some partnerships that have broken up. NFLPA and Panini is over, as well as RECUR, a company that we worked with once that now no longer exists. So quite a few things to talk about on this week's solo pod. Probably going to be shorter than they usually are because I can only fill so much airtime without my dear brother. So thanks as always for listening to another great episode of The First Mint.
Search is over, now welcome to First Mint. Looking for NFT content, look no further cause this is it. From Top Shot to blockchain, they got the data chops, analysis, and pack drops, the show's equator hot. LG and Phil D, the best amongst others. Best brothers that happen to ball since the Ball brothers. So settle in cause it's time for the best show. Ayo Quad, who we reppin'? First Mint. Let's go.
Which is usually what Phil would say, but he's not here. So it's just me to fill the void. And again, if you're watching, I'm actually a fully branded man today. NFL All Day, who we are partnered with. The only thing that we're partnered with right now. And I think they sent this to quite a few people, or maybe not, maybe only a few people, but they sent it to me so I could wear it on these streams. They sent me a cool hoodie. They sent me a dad hat. It honestly feels like what I would wear to watch my non-existent son play like little league football practice, soccer practice, whatever they'd be doing. It feels like that kind of like cozy kind of hoodie thing. Also, funny thing about the word hoodie, I just realized that that's actually a word that we share with Americans. Something like toque or beanie, those are completely different things in Canada, right? Like a beanie for you guys is what we call a toque, but it's the same item, but we have completely different words for it. You guys think it's funny that we say the word toque, but hoodie, we're all on the same level with hoodie. Everybody says hoodie. There's no mystery there. So I'm wearing an NFL All Day. I think it's a Nike hoodie. The hat is Nike branded. You can actually see that. So that's pretty cool. I got a Nike, got some Nike stuff. I got some swag, fully branded man today. Basically just like a walking ad, you know, in my little neighborhood full of old people that where definitely nobody here knows what NFTs are. And they definitely do not want to know what NFTs are. You know, they're still hoping that Cheers comes back on TV or something like that. Anyways, a good little episode just by myself today. Phil is not here. Phil sends his best. I've actually I have a few things to talk about. One thing I didn't say in the intro is that I've actually been interacting with Phil's hacker. Again, we talked about this a few times. Not the person who stole his media passes a couple weeks ago, but the person who hacked his Instagram. So I'll get to that in a second. But first, I do want to talk about doing a solo podcast, which is something that I used to do a very, very long time ago. And I'm going to have to pause a few times during this podcast because it's really hard to talk by yourself. And I really don't have a lot of time to edit this week. So I'm going to try and just do this raw. I never actually edit these days. My current process for podcasts with Phil is that we record it raw and live and we just put it out. And that's a huge time saver for me because editing podcasts is a lot. And when you are, you know, kind of the only person running the show here, it does take a while. So I've cut that out of the process. So I'm going to try and keep that going for this week where I will not edit. So if there's a few blemishes, if I repeat myself a few times, if there's weird long pauses, please bear with me. I also have to write down, I do this thing where I write down like time codes for people that actually, I don't know if anybody uses the time codes, but on Twitter or on YouTube and in the audio pod, I write the time code so you can kind of skip ahead to different sections of the pod. If you is impossible, everybody wants to hear Phil's stories. Anyways, really, I want to talk about recording pods by myself. And the funny process that I used to go through years ago to do that. So as you guys know, our loyal listeners, you guys know, First Mint started as a solo podcast. It actually started with me doing it in basically a basement with a much worse microphone than what I have now, where I had to like basically put a blanket around myself to talk into this microphone to not capture any of the rest of the noise. It was an omnidirectional microphone that I used to use. So a microphone that literally picks up everything in like a 360 area. So it would pick up like the fridge sound, even though I couldn't hear it, it'd pick up like that frequency. So when I first started doing the podcast in January 2021, that's what I would do. I'd write out this whole script, things I wanted to talk about, all about Top Shot, and I would write down, and I would speak it, I'd record it, I would edit it, and that whole process would maybe take me 2-3 hours. It was also way more stressful than it is now. Right now, this is super chill. Phil and I are like, hey, what time works for you today? I don't know. Maybe this time. I'm not home from work yet, blah, blah, blah. Like, we're very calm about it. Nobody's like begging us for the podcast to come out every week, although we do appreciate the people that ask where it is when it's late. But back then, January 2021, man, like when Top Shot blew up, people were like, when's the next podcast? When's the next podcast? When's the next podcast? What are you talking about in the next podcast? Can you answer these questions in the next podcast? Like, people were intense about it. And as a result, and this is like, Top Shot was freaking intense, man. You may remember we used to spend like, oh, what are you doing on Saturday? There's a pack drop at 10 a.m. Like, that's all I'm doing all day is waiting for the pack drop, waiting for the delay from the pack drop, going to the marketplace after spending thousands of dollars buying the stuff. Like that like consumed us. So as a popular podcast in that space, it consumed me. And I used to spend a lot of time trying to refine these podcasts and spend that time doing them. We also at the time did the live show, which was raw and uncut and like 3 hours long, which is insane to think about, a 3-hour long live show. But that's literally what we used to do, Plunge and Quad and the whole crew. Anyways, so for that first 6 months, I would just make like a podcast or two per week, usually about like whatever's going on, about a new drop, about like something on the market, and give them really good names. I eventually settled on kind of like a cadence, I think, of Monday mornings. I learned that people wanted it first thing in the morning. So they wanted me to post at like 1 a.m. the night before, so that when they woke up, some people wake up super early to work out. Shout out Jump Shoot, second week in a row. Shout out Jump Shoot, to work out, and that they wanted it when they got up. So I learned that, and I would record them kind of on Sunday nights after a while. And then as we got into summer 2021, end of 2021, 2022, and started to get away from Top Shot, sometimes the podcast would be like a cool interview, but sometimes I would write the podcast on my own. And, sometimes I had like a long list of, topics to choose from, things I've been thinking about. But there'd be other times, especially like maybe in like the spring of 2022, where it would be like Sunday at 3 o'clock, and I would have zero ideas of what I was going to make a podcast about. But I'm a very like dedicated person. I'm a believer of like the creative process of just keep writing, keep doing it, keep iterating. I'd never want to cancel a podcast for lack of inspiration. I believe that in this kind of creative arena, there's always something new to talk about, something new to create. You just have to look at it differently. But it definitely happened, on some of those weekends, especially as things started opening back up, right? Like spring 2022, COVID's over, where people were going outside. I started going outside. So it'd come like Sunday, 3 o'clock, and I'd be having this like relaxing weekend. The sun's out, having some beers or whatever. And I'd be like, shit, I need to get a podcast out for tomorrow morning. So I would then come lock myself in the office. My wife is like, what the hell is going on? Like, we can finally go outside and have fun. COVID's over, but you got to record these podcasts, which she's very supportive of and still is. But those times are tough. But at the same time, those are some of the podcasts, the ones where it's like I had no ideas left, and I just had to sit down and stare at a blank Word doc and be like, what am I feeling? What am I thinking about right now? What's happening in our space that I think is important? What is an underlying, like, I think about like, what are some underlying feelings out there that people have that nobody's really kind of voicing? And those podcasts where I had nothing to talk about turned out to be some of the best ones. The ones that people were like, man, I really love that show. And what's funny is I would get really nervous. I still get kind of nervous, but especially then, I'd record the podcast on a Sunday night, put out all these thoughts, like really raw thoughts about how I felt and how I hoped other people were feeling, hoping it would resonate. I would set an email up, right? Because it would get published at 1 a.m. my time, Pacific. And then the email would go out at like 3 hours later, and it would always have some kind of statement like, sports NFTs won't survive, something like something really shocking. And because I wanted to write good titles. It's important about making content. You need catchy titles, even if the content is authentic. And I would like barely get any sleep. Like I would freak out and be like, God, someone's gonna read that. They're gonna be so mad at me. Like I would struggle. And then the next morning I'd wake up and I'd have a few, after a restless night, I'd finally get up and I'd have a few DMs. And the DMs were like, great pod, what you said. Wow, that really resonated. And it was always positive feedback, which was fantastic. And thank you to the people who'd write in. That really meant a lot, even the couple DMs on those pods, because that reinforced my belief. It reinforced my belief in the process that it's like, well, it's 3:00 on a Sunday. I don't have any ideas, but if I lock myself in my office for long enough, I will deliver something pretty decent. And on the flip side, some of those podcasts that I'd been thinking about for months, for weeks, so I'm like, man, that's such a good topic. I'm going to drop this topic with all these hot takes, right? Like that's going to be so fun to work on this week. Some of those podcasts sucked. People didn't like those. No, it's like the worst thing that would happen during a podcast when a podcast would come out is nobody'd say anything about it. So anyways, that's kind of been the process over the years. Summer of 2022, I actually spent doing interviews. I was like, you know what? I'm going to spend a couple months just collecting the best people, smartest people, most interesting people, and one at a time, one after another weekly, I would interview them. And I also made it more manageable for me because I was traveling during that time where I could record them in advance, right? That's a huge boon for a podcast to be able to record it a couple weeks in advance and then release it when you want. So, I'd be able to edit anywhere I was, on the plane, whatever I was doing. So that was how I spent the summer 2022, kind of kept that going into 2023, but then decided to reboot the podcast, give people what they wanted. It's bear market. There's not that much to talk about. And I really feel like our community has grown so much. We have such a good time that it felt like it made the most sense to bring Phil back on and make him a regular thing, and also easy for us to make content because we just kind of talk about whatever's going through our minds, which is clearly something you guys enjoy. And now I actually feel like we get more comments in the podcast than we ever did. We get messages in the Discord. We get all the great, comments on YouTube. Those are fantastic. And please keep leaving those. They really give us a good sense of how you guys are feeling and what's resonating with you. And, other than outside of those first couple months of Top Shot, I will say that I think doing the podcast now is the most fun I've ever had with it. Even if our listenership is way down, everybody's is. I love doing it, and I love the people that still listen to it. You guys that want to listen to us every week. That's fantastic. It's a dream come true that people want to listen to what we have to say. The same old gibberish that Phil and I talk about all the time. That there's an audience for that is fantastic. So, anyways, not to make this a big heartfelt thank you, but doing a solo pod for the first time in a while, kind of invoking some of those feelings. So thank you guys for listening and for listening to this part about me talking about that. Now I'll get to the actual juicy stuff. And hold on, I'm just gonna make a timestamp, a time note. So 5 minutes in my process for podcast, and now we're about 14 minutes in, 13 minutes in, 13 and a half minutes in. So Phil's scammer update. Okay, so I should know my Instagram hooks up to my computer, but I'll show you my phone. So as you guys may recall, last week Phil's Instagram has been hacked, and he went to Florida. Maybe he logged into the wrong Wi-Fi or something like that, but his Instagram has been hacked, and I don't think you guys have seen what it looks like, but it's basically here. I wonder if I could pull it up. It's basically like the hacker is quite elaborate. They are posting as him, obviously, like it's his account that they're using, and they're posting things like this, which is like, from him. You can see it here on YouTube. It's basically like a screenshot from like some kind of financial looking app that shows that he's made $14,000. He's up tons of money, right? And and his account, his hacked account, is posting things like that, saying with captions that are like, internet investments hasn't really been my thing from the start. My colleague referred me to a lady who involves in Bitcoin mining. It doesn't make any sense. I looked into it, made my first investment, which was $1,000, started making amazing profits, and in less than 24 hours received my earnings to my bank account. I would advise y'all, somebody Phil doesn't say, to check this out. Right? So this is the kind of stuff it's been posting. And what's really mischievous is that the account also posts like shares Instagram stories from accounts that Phil has shared Instagram stories from before. So, you guys heard his son is playing hockey in Florida now, and he would share posts from that team and from his son. So the account, whoever's running the account, the scammer, is sharing stories from that team's account as well to make it seem like it's just business and as usual on the Phil D account, or things like POV at my friend's wedding. This is happening, like just funny memes that maybe Phil would post. Not that he posts that many memes. Anyways, so it's trying really hard. It also posted this photo last week. That's a Mercedes. That he finally was able to get a Mercedes that he's always wanted. It's got a nice little American flag on it. I don't know if you can see on it. It's got, like, the ones that you hang from your window. So it has that. Anyways, so Phil's been trying to get his Instagram account back. Instagram's not doing anything. We all know that story. I decided to message them and be like, wow, look at your profits. And they responded. So I wrote to them, so they posted another story of like made 21 grand or whatever. So I wrote, wow, really? And they wrote back like an hour later. They're like, yeah, I can link you up with my coach if you're interested in investing, so she can explain better to you. And trust me, you gonna earn more, ... I wrote, nice, let's do it. And then they linked to some page called Millie Moyers. It's this woman. That's her page. Just let her know your name and you're interested in investing, and she's going to explain everything on how it works. And then later they shared a screenshot of them making a huge profits screenshot, but it's them with British pounds, which is, anyways, they're doing some homework, but not enough. So the account they linked to is this person. It's a person. Their supposed name is Emily Moyers, and it says that she's an entrepreneur. Hashtag Bitcoin, hashtag Ethereum, hashtag cryptocurrency content creator, coach, realtor, investor, and wife, 2 kids, Quai market agent. I don't know what that means. And that they're in Wilmington, North Carolina. And, here's a visual. This is very, here she is. Here's Millie Moyers, blonde, blue-eyed chick. And it's all like normal lifestyle stuff. Like, here she is winning like a Remax award. Anyways, I just think I think like I obviously naturally I Googled Emily Moyers and Remax and nothing comes up. And I think what this person did is they just went to somebody's Instagram, this woman's Instagram, whose name is not Emily, and just copied a bunch of her photos and then made this new profile with it, and so on. Because I think that's clearly what's happening here. There's no way that this is actually who I'm speaking to. So a lot of weird little red flags like that. And what else can I share with you? The Remax award things are weird. Like, here's another one of her winning some other Remax award thing. Here's her with her colleagues, but there's no tags or anything like that. I don't know, you can't see it that well on YouTube. Anyways, so, I messaged this person. Oh, and one more thing. They have their link in Instagram is a link tree. And there's 2 links. One of them is just to Binance, like it's just to the front page of Binance, like it's not anything else. And the other one is to Bitcoin.com. Those are the 2 links in her profile. There's no company or anything like that. It just links you to Bitcoin.com. So I messaged her, or them, let's say, and I'm going to assume that it's this woman because I really, really doubt it. And man, this was good. So I said, hey, the real Phil D sent me. Hello, good afternoon. All right. You're interested in investing, right? Yes, of course. All right. So how well do you know about Bitcoin mining? And then this is obviously where I play along. Not much, but I heard it makes people tons of money. That's what I wrote. Good, thumbs up. Okay, here's the long spiel. All right, so this is how it works. Bitcoin mining is a way of investing your funds and letting an account manager help you make good profit. Wow, sounds so easy. I will be your trading manager, and you will create your account with my signal and strategies to make you good profit in a day. We trade mostly in stocks. It's really lucrative, and there are lots of profit coming from there. We also handle international trade deals and currencies. We never make much of a loss. Your profit is always 100% guaranteed. Your balance would be fully available when you done with your investment fully. I have friends who have made a long-term investment, and they all rich. So you can see that this is going well. that basically none of this describes Bitcoin mining whatsoever. This is not related in any way to Bitcoin mining. And this person's saying it's related to stocks. So that's good. So, and this is where they offer basically, I guess, their rates, but they're not really rates, they're rates of return. There's a minimum amount to start with a minimum amount of, and then it like lists like each like it's a little menu. So $500 to get back 8,750, $1,000 to get back 10,000. Oh wow. 2,500 to get back 15,500. These rates like doesn't make any sense. 3,500 to get back 23,880. Very specific. Sounds professional and specific. Or $5,000 to get back $37,500. You have nothing to worry about. I have 2,000 plus successful students who are successful entrepreneurs and also real estate investors. So I want what's best for you. I know you have to think about it, but trust me, I guarantee you of making amazing profits via any withdrawal options of your choice. This is a program to help those who need to pay their bills and also provide for their families. This shit sounds like me, man. Do you understand? This is all one long blurb of messages after I said, I don't know anything about Bitcoin mining. I wrote, yep, that all sounds good. I just got a bonus at work of $3,000. Is that enough? I didn't get a bonus. That's not real. Yeah, that's enough. So are you ready to start now so we can proceed? Sure thing. What do I need to do? All right. I need you to download ShakePay. ShakePay is like a Canadian app. There's another one called Newton, which is a really, really simple fiat on-ramp for Canadians where it's like you can connect it to your bank account, load some money, and then buy Bitcoin and Ethereum. And it isn't me talking. It's not this person talking. I'm just telling you what ShakePay is. I've been using ShakePay. I bought my first ever bit of Ethereum with ShakePay like 5 years ago. So it's a very well-trusted company here in Canada. It's a nice startup in Montreal. So this person knows that Canadians use ShakePay. So they said, I need you to download ShakePay, sign up, and let me know when you're done. Please make sure you input your details correctly. I kept playing dumb. I said, how long does it take? Do I have to pay for it? All right, I wrote, do I have pay for it? Play along with their missing words. No, you don't. You're only buying Bitcoin from the application. Okay. So are you done downloading? Yes, just set it all up. Okay, please send me a screenshot. Why? Because I have to directly you on how you're going to buy the Bitcoin. I think I figured it out. You have to send me a screenshot. I need to check if it has been verified. Which part of the app? Can you show me? Settings? That's a lot of personal info because when you go to settings in ShakePay, it's like all your info. So I was like, I'm not sending this fucking person that. Sorry, but I have to see. Which part? Listen, if you want me to help you, you should follow my instructions. Send me a screenshot of the application. I'll directly you from there. And I never responded. I need some help responding. So let me know what you guys think I should respond. Hasn't gone anywhere else. And that's kind of the end of it. So that's all I know about the scammer so far. I believe this is a hunch. I know it might shock some of you, but I think that this is the same person who's managing Phil's account. I think it's all the same person. And I'm gonna be honest with you, another shocker. I don't think that is the person in the photos. I think it's a different person. So anyways, that's the update on Phil's scammer. Maybe he'll listen to this. Maybe Phil's going to listen to this. Maybe the scammer will listen to this. That'd actually be a lot of fun. I'd love that. I'd love to get the scammer on Pitch Zone, our next Media Pass show, which is this Wednesday. A little plug. This Wednesday, Media Pass, Pitch Zone. Anybody who has a project is invited to come on the show. You just need one of the passes. So excited to see what that Pandora's box is going to open. And maybe I can convince Emily Moyer to come on and pitch us her Ponzi scheme of Bitcoin mining. I love Bitcoin mining that she describes it as buying stocks and getting 100% guaranteed returns within a day. It's crazy that she does that, or that they do that, because it means it works. If they're trying that, it's probably because it means it works. So that's the update on Phil's scammer. Let's jump into some NFT stuff while we're here. So I wrote a little tweet, and I genuinely meant this. That let me just pull it up here. That I actually think that right now sports NFTs are actually in a really, really good place. And I don't mean that as in like they're all worth tons or the volume on the marketplace is enormous, because it's not like that. Those aren't true. Sports NFTs are definitely down. To be realistic, sports NFTs are all trying to figure out what their big growth lever is going to be, what's going to make them blow up. But in terms of evolving their platforms and what they're doing, I do think that they are in pretty good shape. I do think that all these companies are actually really well funded, and they've been kind of cranking out different new stuff even in the last like 6 months. Stuff that I'm a big fan of. I think is good signs. Again, they're not the unlock to the masses. I don't know what's going to unlock to the masses, but I can go through this. NFL All Day Dynamic NFTs. I'll talk about those in a second, but they've got some of the stuff in there is actually some of my favorite stuff that I've seen in a really long time in NFTs. So Rare launched their cash wallet. That's pretty good, letting people use their credit card to buy Sorare. They didn't have that before, despite having the most users out of any sports NFT platform on a regular basis. So like their soccer product, right, has like 30,000 monthly buyers. So that's pretty big, a pretty big unlock for them. It does exist on the Dapper platforms, of course, but still good to see them evolve that and make that a priority, because getting a cash wallet like that, I'm sure, involves quite a bit of litigation, jumping through hoops, red tape, all that kind of stuff from a legal standpoint. So good to see them do that. Top Shot, I don't think has done anything new this summer, other than release boring old Larry Bird moments, but their dynamic moments, they weren't called this, but in the playoffs last year, I forgot what the redemptions, that's what they were called. We talked about them a lot on the show, but where basically each player in the playoff, or the top two players from each team in the playoffs, had a like unrevealed moment, and then every round you could redeem it for a moment, and the further they went, the fewer moments they were, because they're all from the original same pool. Some really great flip opportunities there, like Jimmy Butler went from like $3 to $40, so that was really cool. Basically a chance to pick your winners before anything happens. So, and that's obviously what All Day is doing. And again, we'll chat about that in a second, but I love that from Top Shot. I'm very keen to see what they roll out this season, to hopefully build on that, to make the season a bit more of an interactive collecting game. So that's really great. UFC Strike, also no longer part of the Dapper Labs family, now part of the, whatever they're called, the other family, the company that didn't buy it, that is managing it. Anyways, they did something really cool this past weekend that was actually called predictive NFTs, or I don't know if that's what they called it, but they did this thing on UFC where you could buy the NFT of one of either fighters from a fight. So there was whatever UFC Fight Night this past weekend. Max Holloway was fighting. I love Max Holloway, so you could buy him or his opponent, and for $10, and if the person you like, the token that wins will evolve into a moment, it's going to evolve into a highlight, and the other one will just remain, the loser will just remain as is, like a picture of them. So I bought a Max Holloway for $10. He won by knockout in the third round, so that I'm going to get like an actual moment, but the people who had his opponent will not. So that's that. I love that idea. Again, like picking your bet, right? I love that idea of evolving NFTs, collecting. It's like you're collecting something in advance in anticipation of something being good. There's no guarantee of profit. It's not like sports betting where it's like, well, you'll get it and then you'll get this money, but maybe the market will like it. So it's like a double predictor. It's like you're predicting performance, but you're also predicting market sentiment if you're looking to flip and sell. If you're not, you just want to collect and also predict. This is a new through line. That's something that has never really existed, right? Even for like Topps cards, like sure, you could buy a player's card at the start of the year, but there's no like cap on the supply and no like kind of interesting online dynamic for how that would evolve. So now we have that. We're seeing that rolled out. And the other thing I put in my list of what I'm loving to see is NFL Rivals. So NFL Rivals is a mobile NFL game. It's a lot like Madden. It's like they just took the Madden skin and just rolled it out into a game, but it works super well. I downloaded it. I won the Super Bowl within 2 hours of downloading it. It was free to play. It still is free to play. It's from Mythical Games. And after they rolled that out, they had a huge round. They raised a massive round of like $40 million, which is crazy. It's bear market. They're getting that much money, but they're game developers, so that's normal. And what I liked about that game is the gameplay was good, and you can play in these different leagues where you kind of play a simulated game against somebody else. We're not simulated. You play the offense, but you're playing their team. They're not actually active in the game, but you can kind of climb the ranks, climb the ladders of these leagues. And if you want to progress, you can pay. You can buy legendary packs. You can buy different packs of cards, I guess, that then go on your team and you play them with. So I don't know if that's like the biggest world-breaking model, but I do love that they have it out there. And again, the gameplay is really good. It's smooth, which I really appreciate. So great to see. Again, we don't really have a Web3 gaming sports section, and now we do. That's the game that's in it, and UFC Strike also turning into a game, so I don't know what's going to come out there. All day, which is what I wanted to talk about. Let me just make my timestamp here. We're at 30 minutes. So all day released so much stuff, and I wish Phil was here so we could chat about it. So they have released a series of plans for this season. I'll link the blog post. We are partnered with them, so but I'm not obligated to talk about them right now. I don't have to talk about them on the weekly podcast. We have a content mandate where we make like educational content, which is going to come out later this week. But this segment right now, I am not mandated to talk about this, but I do want to talk about it because it's NFL season, where the season starts in like 10 days. And I really do think it's fantastic. So All Day has rolled out quite a few things. One is dynamic moments. So what they're going to do is they're going to put out 30 legendaries, 300 rares, 1,500 uncommons of specific players. And those moments will evolve as those players perform on the field. So, say it's a running back, they score a couple touchdowns, they get some highlights added to that moment. If the team wins some games, they get highlights added. And basically, the higher the tier of the NFT, so like a legendary, the more points they can score. So eventually, like the legendary NFT of like Patrick Mahomes will have more and better highlights than the rare one, than the uncommon one, and so on. So, or actually, no, it's so on. It ends at uncommon. So I love that. I love, taking that same concept, that the redemptions that they did for Top Shot. I love taking that to NFL, and with the same concept. That's like, especially NFL. You do all these fantasy drafts. People are like, and people decide that like, hey, the third string running back on this team, they're going to be super good this year. I don't know if you'll be able to buy them in All Day, but you could decide, be like, well, you know what? I think this year's top tight end is not going to be Mark Andrews or Travis Kelce. It's going to be some other random player, and maybe there's a dynamic moment of that player, and you can go scoop them up and just have the ball when that player performs super well. So it's kind of, again, that predictive aspect to it is part of it. So that's dynamic moments. Here's a little printout again on YouTube, but I'll link the blog post of how it works, of how those moments gain points. So that's dynamic moments. Common moments. What they're doing with common moments, to me, is by far the best thing I've seen in a little while. They have a different blog post for it, so let me go to that. Where the fuck is it? All right, here we go. Show your pride. Yeah, here we go. Okay, so and they're also doing a team collection display. Same to Top Shot and other stuff, but basically like a catalog, like a binder display of, here's the moments you have. Here's your favorite team. Do you have all the moments from your favorite team? Same as Top Shot, but I like that. It's long overdue. So this, they're calling this a new interactive approach to the common tier for 2023. And I think I'll just say right now that the common tier of any of these collectible collections fucking sucks. Okay. There's like 10,000 moments, 40,000, 60,000 moments. It's stupid. These things don't mean anything. Like a LeBron, like no LeBron moments should be worth $2, but LeBron has like 100,000 freaking million common moments, so they're worth $2. That's stupid to me, and it's such a waste to do that. Why mint those? You don't even need to mint those. So why would you ever make them? So this is evolving common moments, and something that I hope we see on Top Shot, on UFC, on Candy Digital, on all the other collectibles. I think it's really fantastic. So if I understand this correctly, common moments will feature top-tier players from each team represented. They will be color-coded. And the only way, basically what happens is that it's like a crafting challenge. So you go and buy commons of a player or team. Oh, sorry, you get a team pack of commons from your favorite team. So you can go buy a team pack of Kansas City Chiefs. And it's full of commons, you're going to get, but it's probably limited players. So let's say you get a Mahomes. That's your Mahomes common. Okay. And you don't know how many people are going to buy these packs. I think it's going to be like open edition packs. So people can buy 50,000 Kansas City Chiefs packs if they want. And there might be 25,000 Mahomes commons. Okay. But if you have 3 Mahomes commons, you can trade them in for a green Mahomes common. And then you can trade 3 of those for a blue, and 3 of those for a red, and 3 of those for a gold. So you can basically craft your way up to rares, right? So I don't know how many that is. I guess you'd need how many of this? You'd need a freaking, oh man, I can't do the math, but it's a multiplier. So what happens is that despite there being, freaking maybe 20,000 Patrick Mahomes commons, which again, I'm assuming will be dictated by the collectors, by us deciding how many of these packs we want to buy, there will not be 20,000 gold ones. There'll be like a limited cap of how many gold ones there are. So the common tier will basically develop its own crafting rarity system within itself. And rather than having names for rarities like rare and legendary, there'll be colors. So I think that is really, really fun. And I think that really, like, again, they're making it accessible. So it's like, hey, you just want to have a common Patrick Mahomes, you just want a little thing, you could probably get it for $1 for sure. But if you want to level up and you want to start crafting and try and get like the gold tier of each player, you can play this game. So I love that. I think that that's like something super fun. I think it'll lend itself to new inventions down the line for how people could use that. So I really hope it's successful. So that's one of the best things I've seen in a while. That's out there right now. So that's a separate blog post. I will link to that. And that's most of the stuff that's going on with All Day. The other major piece is they're adding in-game audio, which is cool. It's not the broadcast. It's just like the sounds of the game, but that is cool. And they're going to start doing that. I believe they're starting this season. So every new collectible will feature in-stadium audio that transports you right to the heart of the action, is what it says. So that is pretty cool. And they will not, it says here, they will not be retrofitting the audio to moments from series 1 and 2, which is fine. That's fine. Those will just be silent, which is going to be weird later. But I do love that. I think it's really important to have audio. Top Shot, for some reason, still does not have audio. UFC Strike does, and UFC Strike has the rights to all their audio. So you get, not only do you get the knockout, but you also get the Rogan and the whole crew, Cormier, everybody, John Anik, commentating on the move, or on the action. So I do love that as well for UFC Strike. All day you're gonna get the audio feed. So I think that's cool. I think it's cool. Again, that and the team stuff to me is like, that's long overdue. So it's good they're finally adding the long overdue and pushing it out at the start of the season to really make the platform feel different. The dynamic moments for the rares and legendaries and uncommons, they evolve through the year, really great. And then the common crafting, to me, super fun, like a really fun game for us to play. And a new kind of token dynamic, something again that's only possible with NFTs rolling out. So that's the news for NFL All Day. From here on the show, honestly, we're just going to go through like little bits of like super random news that have hit my newsfeed in the last couple of days. So the first one is today, Cryptoys, which is on Flow, which has some of my favorite brands like Star Wars and Masters of the Universe, but doesn't have a marketplace. You keep selling NFTs, you don't have a marketplace. It's fucking ridiculous. Cryptoys, get yourself a freaking marketplace, man. Like that's insane. It's almost the end of 2023 as NFT releases don't have a marketplace. Like that is so berserk to me. Floaty, can you guys? No, Floaty. How come none of these marketplaces like on Flow are putting Cryptoys on? Let's write to them right now. Hey, yo, Floaty. When are you gonna let us list our Cryptoys? Anyways, there we go. Heckling during the podcast. So anyway, so Cryptoys, these colorful little kind of like renditions of the characters. They have Masters of the Universe, so He-Man. They have Star Wars. So they roll out like Luke and Leia and I don't know, Chewbacca, whatever. Probably more in the future. They have those licenses. And now because they have Disney, they rolled out today Mickey Mouse, Minnie Mouse, and Pluto, which is cool. It's great to see that. The thing is, I think a lot of people were trying, like, this tweet has tons of likes, almost 400 likes. It's big news for sure that Disney is letting somebody officially make Mickey Mouse NFTs. I get that. The thing is that, like, I think it'd be a little bit more exciting, obviously, if it wasn't the bear, but also if Disney wasn't at this very bizarre juncture in time where, their future is uncertain. They're going to cut back on streaming because they've lost tons of money doing that. They recently shuttered their metaverse division. Whatever was happening in their metaverse division, it's not happening anymore, even though they're still licensing NFTs. They have talked about selling off parts of the business, and Bob Iger, who's in charge now, I read his book. He's also the one who bought Lucasfilm from George Lucas, which included Star Wars. He bought Marvel from whoever owned Marvel at the time. He bought Pixar from Steve Jobs. Like, this guy was the acquisitions genius 20 years ago. They read the writing on the wall, like, we need tons of IP so we can crank out all these movies. And that's what he did. They made a fuck ton of money. Like, Marvel, God, what a success to buy Marvel and turn it into what it became, like Avengers, all that kind of stuff, and to still be cranking out content, even though all the new Marvel stuff since Endgame really fucking sucks. Except Loki and WandaVision. The rest of it, I don't care what it is. It's terrible. And the Star Wars stuff is terrible too. You can fight me on that. But Mandalorian season 1 is the only good thing that came out. That's my harsh opinion. Very harsh. Anyways, they're the pillar of entertainment, honestly, for like fun fantasy IP. And he's talked about potentially selling off parts of that business because they need to recoup money. Parks are struggling. So that's the only part that makes me way less bullish on this, is that Disney is very relevant, but also the part where they're not sure how to keep making money. And they shut out their metaverse division. So clearly they don't think that NFTs are the place to go. So even though I'm really happy for Cryptoys and for Will and the team to be getting this awesome license to release Mickey Mouse NFTs, I am curious about the future of NFT licenses specifically for Disney. More so for Disney than like an NBA Top Shot. Disney doesn't even know who's going to be owning it in a couple years if you follow what they're saying. So that's the only part that makes me skeptical. The other part is that Mickey Mouse is largely irrelevant. Like, is Disney planning to launch new Mickey Mouse movies? Do they now? Like, out of all the entire Disney Rolodex, Mickey Mouse is the classic. You go to Mickey Mouse Land or whatever the hell you do. When you go to the Disneyland, you wear the ears and all that shit. But, I don't think a lot of 5-year-olds, if you're like, hey, who's your favorite fictional character? They're like Mickey Mouse in the top 20. So I don't know. I think it's cool. Maybe some diehards will buy this, but we'll see. And again, Cryptoys is my main gripe right now. My only gripe. I bought a lot of Masters of the Universe He-Man. I bought some Star Wars. The main thing I want to know is where's the marketplace. So I tweeted at them. Let's see if maybe we'll get a response from Floaty. Floaty does respond super fast. They liked the tweet. Who liked the tweet? Floaty liked it. Floaty liked the tweet since I wrote it. So anyways, maybe we'll get that. What else do I want to talk about? So there was that. And okay, let's talk some not great stuff. Oh, I'll just save this for the end, the OnlyFans news. So some not great stuff. Last week, the NFLPA terminated its partnership with Panini, which means they cannot make Panini cards this year. I'm assuming it means they cannot make Panini NFTs. I think they were making them. Panini NFTs are a very strange segment of NFTs where I've tried many times to get in touch with their team. Their team has been like, yeah, let's set up a time to chat, and they just fucking vanished over and over and over. And I'll say that, I don't like to volunteer private discussion information like that or to put them on blast, but I just get a weird vibe from them. I'm not alone in that. A bit of a veiled wall there of just selling NFTs. So I'd always love to learn more about their ecosystem if there's ever a chance. But bad news for them. The NFLPA will no longer be licensing their players to them. They weren't able to license the teams either, I don't think, because as you can see, even in this card, you can't see the team that Patrick Mahomes plays with. Like, the logos are kind of obscured on purpose. So they only had the partnership with I guess with the NFL too. I don't know. It's hard to say who. I think it's just the NFLPA. Anyways, they don't have the license anymore. And the license actually went to Fanatics, which, if you know Fanatics, is Michael Rubin's company. They were a 60% owner of Candy Digital, and they divested that share at the start of the year to kind of probably up their balance sheet so they wouldn't show so many losses. And I guess it's gone to Fanatics, and Fanatics have been busy scooping up merchandise deals with all these leagues, and now clearly going for, trying to corner the collectibles market as well. So that's kind of an interesting bit of news. I don't know what it means for the future, or for oh wait, hold on, I gotta make my marker. Cryptoys is what I was talking about. And now Panini, we started maybe a minute ago. Sorry to do this to you. I usually do it in secret while Phil's talking. So anyways, I don't know what that means for the future. I wish I knew a little bit more about card collecting and how the community is going to feel about that, but not great news. And even worse news, RECUR, which we promoted, we had a great partnership with them, shut down. So RECUR was a company that less than 2 years ago raised a $50 million round A. They raised $50 million to make NFTs. And what they had done is basically founded this company, and one of the founders was a IP partnership specialist, Trevor George, and he brought in all these massive partners. They signed over 100 colleges in the US to launch NFTs for them, over 100 athletes, former NCAA athletes like John Morant, Carmelo Anthony, to release their college NFTs, which they did. It was called NFU. That's what we promoted. It was a good partnership. I like the product. Never really took off. It had some pack sales, and I think all-time volume was like $500,000, so nowhere near the top shots or anything. They launched NFTU around right when the bear market hit, so it was like April 2022. They launched it like after March Madness, which to me was completely insane. I think, or just after, so a huge waste, or maybe right before. I don't know, but it wasn't enough time. It was the wrong time, and I don't think they had the right kind of marketing for it. So they had that, and then that summer in 2022, they launched tons of brand NFTs. So they had a huge deal with Paramount. So they launched Nickelodeon, which included like SpongeBob SquarePants, Rugrats, Care Bears, Hello Kitty, poop emoji NFTs, which was terrible. They were basically, positioning themselves as this like IP NFT launch platform banked on the idea that branded NFTs were going to be the thing. And that it's clear to me and to you guys and to everybody else that they and their partners approached it as, hey, we're going to launch brand NFTs. People love these brands. They're going to buy them. SpongeBob NFTs, I think they did that. Maybe they didn't. Rugrats. Do you guys remember Rugrats? People love Rugrats. They're going to buy them. And they were very fucking wrong. They were very wrong. You couldn't just release it. It had to be a program that made sense for the brand, like a Starbucks or a Reddit. So RECUR did this. They made over $20 million selling their pass, because originally they had a pass, which was a good system. You could buy a pass for like $200 and it gave you a allow list to all these things. They made $20 million selling out their RECUR pass. They made however much money selling NFTU and Rugrats and Care Bears, plus the $50 million from their round A, and they shut down less than 2 years after starting all of that. And it's a shame. It's really bad. It's good and bad for the space. It's good that a company like this that clearly positioned itself as a company where they went to brand partners and said, hey, we're going to make you tons of money on NFTs. But they clearly never really had the depth to create great NFT programs or to really thoroughly understand what the market was all about or what consumer sentiments were like, user sentiments. It's good that a company like that has died. That's good for the space. We want it to go away. We don't want these companies that were loosely built to survive. But it's also bad because it proves that a large part of the NFT market was a grift, that it was bullshit, that the intentions probably weren't that good, and that a lot of these people raised this money and took money from collectors and from investors in an industry that was so shaky that it crumbled so quickly and is still crumbling now. So it's further proof in the pudding for the detractors, and it should be for us as well. We should be upset that these companies were allowed to thrive. And in, both, even myself, hopefully next time can have a better sense of what companies are going to be good and bad. Although again, it was really hard to tell at the time. And I think for both me and you guys and everybody who was into this stuff, these seem like great ideas. And I feel like we all felt like NFTs were going to go up forever and or survive. So I think it's a good lesson for everybody. It's a negative mark on the space. And I'm just honestly just super baffled. I don't understand what you end up with doing $70 million that isn't building yourself a runway. Even something like Dapper is a good example where it's like, well, they raised a shit ton of money, but they're not out of money. They didn't run out of money. They cut their staff, which is what you do when you're losing more money than you're making, is you reduce staff, especially when you grow really quickly. They're doing it right. It's not a good, it doesn't look good, but that's what you do. You fire people to make room and to have a positive cash flow so that you can be at least trying to make as much money as you're spending. So your company can survive for a long time as a tech company. RECUR, to me, clearly had the opportunity to do that. So I don't really know what they spent all that money on. Probably a lot of it on the licenses, but I don't know, man. There's so many things you could have done here. Here's some photos if you're looking on the on YouTube of this thread from Aaron Sage, kind of detailing the death of them. One of my favorite things actually about this, and a lot of projects were doing this, a lot of them still do, is they had this like NFT celebrity a list of advisors being like, man, all these people are going to advise us. We're going to do so well. And amongst them were like O'Shiny, Andrew Wang, Matt Medved, who's the guy who started NFT Now, Bobby Hundreds, a bunch of other people I don't know. That to me is comical, and shame on them for sure. I don't know what advising consisted of, but if I was hired as an advisor for RECUR, I would have told them multiple times that what they're doing was not right and they need to step it up. So I don't know. I don't know what those advisors did. I really love to know what happens with advisor money. I would love to get some advisor money, and maybe not be a list of celebrity advisors. I'm not that big, not big enough. But I would love to be an advisor and to actually help and to just know what goes on behind closed doors when you are an advisor to these, $70 million projects. So that's RECUR. It's dead now. See you later, RECUR. And to end things on a light note, I don't think I had much else, but I did see this news. Nobody else mentioned, nobody sent me this, so I thought it was worth noting. This is from this morning. Justin, OnlyFans owner paid himself $338 million in bonuses last year. There he is. He looks like a huge perv, honestly. You'd have to be to start a website like that, but that's pretty crazy. And the best comment under it is this is the only dude in the green on OnlyFans. So congrats to that guy making himself tons of money on OnlyFans. Just to slap us right in the face as we've been spending years thinking about NFTs. This guy, is one of the pillars of the creator economy. Maybe they'll integrate NFTs one day, but I think that's way more airtime than we should allocate to OnlyFans. So anyways, hope you've enjoyed this solo podcast. I've had a great time just talking for an hour, and we'll definitely be back next week with Phil. Hopefully he's feeling better and hopefully by this Wednesday, because we have Media Pass episode 2 coming out Wednesday, 8:00 Eastern. So make sure you're there. It's the Pitch Zone one. We got projects coming up to pitch their weird projects, their weird collections, whatever they got. So make sure you check it out. And as usual, thanks for listening to the First Mint, and I'll see you guys next week. And